Welcome everyone to our live code and Linux development channel here on our little corner of the internet. Today Regex, or how the first live commenter reads, Regex, more like Regex. Not so much for me, but not only do I do this for 20 years, but I also took over mini SED from Eric S. Raymond that I still maintain today, previous video. So probably I should make a dedicated regular expression video. Today I wanted to show you something a little bit low tech, so a little bit regular expression, right, for those who love regular expressions. But I mean, quick, I probably should make a dedicated video, but basically what regular expression means, usually you like find and replace something, or find and like finding something like foo here, of course find some stuff, and regular expressions basically extend that to more than patterns. Should probably make a dedicated video, but so that you can also match other stuff like foo as in any of ours. Let's see, does it work like that? For example, if you want to grab for foo and then like any of foo or foo-a, whatever, you get the idea and stuff. Also multiple occurrences like with a clean star operator and stuff. But today what I wanted to do is, did I really? Here. So I noticedly, sometimes I also learn new stuff, right, which you probably want to share, like, and subscribe here to this channel. And although I shell script for 20 years, it never really occurred to me that you don't need a semicolon here. So basically, well, to be fair, I've rarely seen that, and I took this huge code base over from Claire, and so maybe Claire also didn't quite, I don't know, maybe she thought it's good style or also didn't realize. So yeah, it's only recently Notech sent a patch and like patch for some new code somewhere, and he didn't have semicolons there, and I was like, code reviews like, yeah, you probably want to add some semicolons there, and he was like, yeah, YOLO, why freaking works like that? And I was like seriously, it works like that? And yeah, turns out it looks like, I checked that earlier, it looked like, I should actually left the standard text open, but this looks to be valid syntax that even not only works in Bash, which of course GNU extension and stuff, but even in PDK-H, that we public domain K-shell, that we also use for the image ID still for size. And you would say, yes, so what? And so usually I'm really intrigued. I find this much more, I mean, it's like a totally no-brainer of like, yeah, some semicolons there. And usually you hear me, usually I don't like refactoring and changing stuff just for the sake of change. Usually it easily breaks stuff, which you will see in a second, like the Linux kernel, like refactoring and stuff. And usually I don't like this very much, but in this case, I can't unsee it anymore. So it's like this tiny little semicolon. It's like, since Notech told me, like, yeah, what, you, that freaking works. Like, do, seriously. And it also works. I checked this with export. Export here, I checked, so that is name values, and it clearly says here, mark each name. So there can be, like, as it says, mark each name, that can be more than one, obviously. So at least according to the Bash info and page set, like, because it continues child process names, so the names in plural there was as refers to the shell functions, otherwise in name refer to the shell mean blah 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 something. I tested this, it works in as I said, in not only in Bash but also PDK-H, and which is a decade-old thing. So I mean, the second thing is why I don't really like it so much to like touch all of this stuff now, is it clutters the history, subversion of Git or any proper version control history. So when you like, I mean, it's not that often, but if you scroll through the history because there's a bug or you want to see when something was changed, if you svn or git blame this, use like, yeah, latest commit, like revision or hash 55,666, and then you see, this is just a bloody semicolon removal, and then you need to svn git blame that old revision again. So, but yeah, as I said, I can't unsee it. So I will make a rare exception, although like, because I find it so much cleaner, to be honest. It's also crazy, right? That even not only with C, obviously a recurring theme, I know a lot of crazy stuff from pointer arithmetic to other preprocessor and other crazy stuff in C that probably most people never heard about. But it is crazy that not only with C, but certainly C++ or Rust, but shell scripting, even shell scripting, right? Even 20 years later, you can, like, the tiniest things, you can learn a new thing. Also, yeah, this channel and reading documentation is a freaking manual. And yeah, what does it take to change all the stuff? I tried this already last night, but also leave me in the comments below. I mean, it's in one thing a total no-brainer, but again, I can't unsee this, right? Since I know it works, and the reason I always oops, this was wrong focus. Most people, there, scroll over there. Do this is like, this is one statement, like shell scripting. If you put more, like, I mean, if you I mean, it's in some ways it's also strange that this works, because usually it is like one statement and like per line, and unless you need a semicolon there for other stuff. So it's a little bit exception in the syntax somehow that this works. So of course we don't, so normally you could manually go through the sources, but yeah, of course real programmers come up with a regular expression. So this is a little bit a crazy one, right? This is for the crazy ones, for the misfits, for those who want to fit the square into the round hole or something. So what do we do here? So what is a regular expression? So this, I'm sure you can come up with a better regular expression, maybe using org or something, but otherwise SED here. And pro tip also, Anduin says there, I think a lot of programmers this week are working, I think a lot of so you've seen me reason previously. I usually like type here shell scripting, like grabbing this while read something, SED stuff. Of course, I don't write this just down, right? I started last midnight. Like, if I want to change this, I obviously want an SED or stream editor or other or this stuff. And so you start with something, right? So what do we want to do? We want to substitute everything that has multiple assignments on one line. So streaming editor works on one line, some line buffer. And so basically we want to remove the semicolons in like multiple assignments. The problem is that they're also in for loops, right? So this is not that easy. This is how, first you start with some substitution. So how I work with this, and I probably should make a dedicated video sometime soon, about purely regular expression. But basically what this is like match something. So basically one thing is here, this is for example, assignment here of kleine klein star operator, kleine, let me Google this. Kleine star, how is it even pronounced here? Clean, actually I never pronounced them. There's so much to in Germany and stuff, and I'm never pronouncing this in English, except live on YouTube. So yeah, kleine star operator, but the more than one, like plus version. And so this is basically multiple assignments. And so what I do, a little bit special thing. So this is not perfect, right? You probably, but for me, like often it is better to get something like 99% working and do the last 1% manually, right? It makes no sense to Google and read the freaking manual and come up with regular expressions, or it's certainly extremely difficult, certainly much easier in GNU.org to more programmatically match that. Because what happens is that you also, if you just substitute that, you over substitute stuff, which obviously I tried that, and then do that it's not as easy as it looks. For example, here, multiple assignments we often have here in argument parsing. Let's, of course, if you look for some example, you don't find it. Somewhere like probably here, probably somewhere here. And so what happens if the trivial thing, I tried this last night, of course, on the couch, and then stuff happens like you remove, like you think, yeah, you match multiple assignments and then remove the semicolons, And then of course you also, like if you just substitute all the semicolons, you also remove the double semicolon here ending the case statement here, for example, and you also remove like otherwise. And then of course the next thing is, sure, you move, so you remove the semicolon here, and then you simply, so this for example, so substitute semicolon but not continuing with the semicolon, that is that thing here. And to not remove that here, for example, the double semicolon, but that still doesn't work because it works, it substitutes something, but it still substitutes too much because it still removes the semicolon before the shift here. The same goes for, I just have, usually I type with the German, this bloody Apple Silicon Regex. I need to use a US layout, it's a little bit unintuitive for me with this Apple QEMU Silicon VM. And the same is for while and for loops. So often, especially more often with for loops, let me, for assignment here. So the same is we substitute often, at least not always, but often where we have multiple assignments and for loops. So this is how you, at least I, like substitute one thing, look, and this is why you also substitute something, and then let's in place substitute that like that. And this is of course why most people and probably everyone should work with a version control system, even like just a local git thing. That is how I work. So you see, for example, here's still one over substitution, for example, in dir equals that happens because we have still an additional assignment, most likely here. And this is the kind of thing, so I distilled this down. For me, it's like, yeah, I'm not further refining this. I run this now soon, probably after this video, and manually fix some stuff up. So go over this regular expression. And again, probably with GNU-org, you could do this better, or some real shell linting, maybe bash lint or something. So sed streaming editor, match everything. So that is starting, let's see, what was that? All right, so I match here, what even was that? Whatever that was, need to, yeah, so much live on YouTube, forgot. What was that even? So there was something of not, I think this is simply including like more than, like if, I think I added this so that if there is complex stuff, like assigning stuff to running a sub-process and for and while loops and stuff that have like this characters, then not to run into something. Wait a second. So yeah, right, because this is inverted. So although actually this is starting with, wait, why is this starting with? Probably this was meant for, I also run this over the desk file with code, and the desk file starts with a angle bracket. Anyway, so then if that, I'm not really sure about this anyway, so whatever. So then this is the main match, multiple assignments, and then for example here for match for, but then only like not, right, inverting that. Match for loops, and if it's not a for loop, then run the substitution. So that is substituting semicolon space to space. I added this. So initially I had there, this was the first thing, right? Substituting all semicolons away, but this leads to syntax errors because if there was variable assignment semicolon, then we have this sticking together. So obviously we need a space, right? So substituting semicolon space to space, and then additionally again for again, if the same thing, if not a for loop, then substituting semicolon, but if it's not followed by another semicolon, and so we need to capture that, because if you don't like match semicolon and then not semicolon, if you substitute this to semicolon, you lose one character, so you need to capture that to, so this is basically the condition for case switch statements there. And then I correct, because this has here the special thing for shifts and aliases. So I had a couple of things that we have lots of shifts, and so with the substitution we remove the semicolon here in front of shift. So there, as you see, there's a lot of times argument parsing and similar such stuff. So I simply add this back. I was trial and erroring around. So often, as I said, it's easier to just YOLO that, and it's like, yeah, if we over substitute this and then simply add this back before shift. So this is if shift, then add a semicolon back, if alias, then add a semicolon back, if then add a semicolon back. Here evil at the, so it's just like a handful of like, yeah, okay, fine. It's good enough. Let's add some semicolons where they belong. And then due to this adding this stuff, we over added a couple of semicolons at the beginning of some lines. So this here is substitute, somewhere, where was that? So this is substitute here, space before semicolon to, basically have two things. So one thing is, so this is just so space semicolon for whatever that case was. And then the other is if the line begins with all space, and then a semicolon, then we capture all those spaces because we don't want to delete them, but remove the first semicolon. We probably could write this slightly different without the capture, but like match space and then like branching into this, and but this is probably more readable to capture that. And so the additional escaped parentheses here are for the capture. So yeah, because obviously you sometimes want to match parentheses so that one case you need to escape. Either you make this parentheses capture by default, then you need to escape all your parentheses matches, or if you want a more natural match parentheses, then you need to escape this special use. It's just how it is in life. Yeah, so because we had a couple of whatever SED calls this, blocks or whatever, we need to close them. And so yeah, this is all. By the way, the way you can test this, so now we have all the stuff here, and the way I tested that also is that only see substituted stuff is you don't substitute by default SED-N for no output by default, no default output, then not in place, of course. And here, if all of this in this conditionals of regular expressions, then last but not least, then you print it. And that's actually a relatively convenient thing to test this. And we can also simply see the difference, the stuff where we wasn't sure what exactly this was about. We can actually debug this by just removing this part here, this substitution, and diff my previous good versus bad, and certainly see something shift of, yeah, okay, so this is actually, okay, so this is removing space before semicolon. So because due to the substitution of things, as this is probably from adding semicolons after, before shifts or something. So yeah, there you have it. This was what that was before. Good and bad. And yeah, as I said, obviously to run this without that p with that and dash e, and then you have that here. This is currently with very minimal Pre-processing this, by the way, substitutes quite some stuff, and I would argue it's a little bit more readable since just in the T2 script sources, 22 files, of course, probably all files, and like 112 occurrences. Just here, I committed some stuff yesterday night already, the initRD and some other sources, and yeah, this argument parsing here, not the super most important, but yeah, so as you see, all the stuff of packages, I would argue, and this is also why I can't unsee this. I mean, yeah, long story short, at the end of the video, at the end of the live streams, like, yeah, all the fuss about some semicolons, but I would still argue it is more readable, it is way less noisy, and this is also why I can't unsee this anymore. Sometimes it's really the small things. And like, yeah, some semicolons we need to, I could probably YOLO that in adding also, like adding that before echo, but there's also limits. So a couple of things, either we could actually do that, revert all of this, and also add, let's see if that makes it better, of adding a semicolon before echo. Just for that, let's substitute echo to semicolon echo globally that, and 108, let's, yeah, we could actually, what I otherwise do, as you've seen, I simply diff that to good and better, before and after, or A and B or stuff, and maybe this solve some, but for example here, right, so this are huge blocks of variable assignments, of cross-native, of stage level and stuff, and yes, this is, I would even argue, you could say, yeah, is it good style or not? I would actually argue this is good style. I mean, Claire has done this 20 years ago, but I actually like this style because it makes use of 80 plus columns. And otherwise you would like fill the whole screen with variable assignment. I mean, similar in C and other languages, you initialize multiple variables in one line. And again, as you see, I mean, it looks so much cleaner with all this noise, this unnecessary noise. And this is also why I actually like Lua. Maybe we can take a quick look there, a little excursion of our user. What do we even type here? I think I have a checkup of our XRes, and like, let's probably, what can we show? I mean, let's maybe just show our activity demo. And I really like that Lua, and this was also why, in like, if I create a blend, a hybrid of simplified C++ with a little bit sprinkle of Lua, it looks so much cleaner without all the semicolons all over. If you once worked like with Lua, U is like, why do most programming languages require a bloody semicolon on the end of most lines? It's like, yeah. Of course, Lua has semicolons. I mean, the irony is you can add optional semicolons in Lua, and sometimes you need to, if you like, but usually only, I mean, in this file I don't even have a semicolon, but sometimes if, like, for example, you have local variable initialization and stuff, and then you want to continue with something else in the same line, you would need a semicolon. Let's see if, why is live on YouTube? I don't have a semicolon there. For example, else if, yeah, here probably, what do we have? Else if, not sure why. Why do I have if, why, then, else if, why did someone write it like that? Else if, then, why has someone done it like that? I have no idea. Else then, else if then, what? Else if then, lines, exclamation. I think, wait a second, where was the semicolon? Was it Z? So this is to probably this might, what do we have? I'm a little bit perplexed about this line. So what you would usually do in Lua is use multiple assignments. I'm not sure why this is so much to code review your commercial code live on yx. I would write it the other way around. So x comma y equals 0 comma. And this is, by the way, what I like much more in Lua, that you can have, I mean, this is so crazy, right? Super simple language, and you can have features that neither C, C++, and probably even Rust doesn't have. Like why do not have more programming languages multiple assignments? I mean, this is so amazing. X comma y, like foo bar equals something comma something, and even multiple. I mean, it's 2022, right? And most programming languages don't have multiple return values unless you container them in tuples and stuff. So what were the other things? Like, let's save this. Do we have more semicolons in here? Oh, we have multiples. So yeah, here have action. Why do we have? Ah, this is writing a function thing in. So yeah, there are some cases where you could potentially need a semicolon in Lua. But as you see, so much cleaner, right? So much more pleasant to the eye, so much, in my opinion, allows you to focus better, concentrate better, more readable. Yeah, let's see. What do we have here? So some people tuned in. Unfortunately, let's see, I have the feeling our Voda fail. Yeah, I should move most of the data center. I'm still waiting for our watchdog timer previous video to reset our bloody office DOCSIS router because Vodafone's failing dark garbage infrastructure. I would do the same to the conf files. We could actually continue to refine this for a moment. So the same, of course, applies. I've rerun this on yesterday. I committed a couple of things already for a test. And in place on all of conf. And so let's see that, of course, changes quite some stuff. And again, as I said, there is like 1% or so manual cleanup. For example, this expression leaves multiple exports. Like if we had export something, like export foo equals something, semicolon exports y equals something else. We have like very few, like one maybe. So yeah, you could theoretically, as this like one occurrence. I simply this is what I noticed like scrolling by. Obviously, as I said, not the biggest fan of changing refactoring code for just a change. Like the only constant is change. My recurrent criticism, but again, very exceptional. Not a huge fan. You need to weight that appropriately. But yeah, somehow since as I said, since I noticed it, I can't unsee it. And let's see, we had some comments. Also, notoriously easy to get caught up with recursion. Takes a lot of computer, semicolon. What do you have there? S work with what won't work for comments match, not set. Wait, no, something beginning. Setting X not, what program is it? Cardologist asks what program is that? That what I if you ask what that was, I showed you Lua sources of our new portable UI system. Obviously, we neither wanted to use Qt or GTK or similar such stuff. So we have I had before I started the YouTube channel, I had a 20% project in my own company, aka writing a own UI toolkit from scratch. And that is, not yet the most amazing because it was only a 20% project and we are not Google and nor Apple yet, but much nicer to program than Qt and GTK. it's using Lua, or in the meantime actually a forked version of Lua 5.1. I had the previous videos showing our secret sources. And so from our portable version of our exact scan and OC Arcade and Recompress. So the Mac version is using Core Objective-C++ of their AppKit stuff, but the portable version is using our own UI kit for Windows and Linux, where the application logic is written in Lua, because that is actually pretty amazing language. I had a previous video some 2 years ago of showing a little bit of our secret source here. I probably should make it a product, because the toolkit is amazing, sort of, at least somewhat. So, so that is it. Otherwise, if you mean the other sources, this is our T2 Linux distribution, shell scripting of open source packages, cross-compiling, all this fun stuff. So we could check here our substituted stuff. How many is that even? Actually, it's not that many with those refinements. Did we? Okay, this is in a comment. That doesn't really matter too much, and maybe we should actually potentially remove that. So yeah, that is probably a valid one. And again, you should, I mean, if we substitute the package recipes, it's not that important, because, I mean, we should proofread this, obviously, do our, like here, auto patch and create docs. And we should do our due diligence here. That looks fine, of reviewing that stuff, that we didn't totally destroy this. Yeah, here the same. And what do we have here? For example, that also looks for the most part. I mean, actually, ironically, oh wow, this even works. I didn't expect this. Ironically, that is crazy, to be honest. We could actually theoretically try to clean this up in one go here. Actually, this is written from probably, who packaged Go? Notec? So ironically, probably either Dr. Schubert or Notec, I guess. And so ironically, I didn't even expect, so this is the crazy stuff, right? Why does it even work, right? I would theoretically think intuitively that should syntax error, to be honest. And we could actually try to SED that in this Go, and if there is a semicolon without a space in front of it, add one. And I guess we could probably live try that. So make op, make inst op stuff, that probably looks fine. So what I wanted to say, this packages, I mean, it's not in the packages, it's not so many, because all the heavy variable initialization and assignment stuff happens in the core T2 scripts. So this is why these are not that many, and let's test this. So in my opinion, it's nice anyway to have some consistent style. I usually clean white spaces quite a bit, excessive use of trailing white spaces and stuff, and similar, this probably should be a good example to be readable code. And oh, this is in place, darn shit. Probably need to, yeah, now we ruined that. It doesn't matter too much, that's why we do this in the clean working copy. Yeah, okay, so if we wanted to work, now we have this on screen, as I said, no print by default. And then we could try to improve that by, what do we have here, echo and stuff. And so we could basically, if we are already substituting, so not, oops, oh darn, this is a bloody, where was this, is in here. Not space, semicolon, then to space, semicolon, and globally. And the only thing is we need to, like, if not, yeah, we need to capture that, otherwise we remove that. So that's why we need to have that there. If you have a better way to do that, let me know. That option to S. All right, because we didn't put a semicolon there, can have too many semicolons. And as expected, this adds semicolon there for this case block where they have not been some before. So then in place all this good stuff without additional print. And yeah, even probably kind of sort of, yeah, should we, I mean, some projects, I mean, of course, we're not yet as important as like GCC or Clang. Theoretically, you could auto-lint the stuff, or I mean, even in subversions, there were like probably 15 years ago, like post-commit hooks of checking like that this stuff is indented correctly, or otherwise you could even in a professional environment refuse, deny commits that are not properly formatted. And I kind of wonder if that should be the case for like mission critical stuff. Is that doing the right thing there? Export, this is a package Siri. Not that this would be the most important, but this is also why I'm usually against this stuff, because kinda like, I mean, that is the crux of this stuff, right? There, except readability and like long-term maintainability, that would be the benefits, but otherwise weighting the advantages and the disadvantages, right? So the pros and cons of the pros are little, the pros are only pleasing our readability, and otherwise it's not adding any new functionality. It's only, it's like at best having the same outcome function features, and at worst, like at best it's equal, at best it's the same, and at worst most likely it's causing some subtle regressions, because obviously we will overlook something in manual review despite working on this like for an hour or two, some of which you live on YouTube. Anyway, I hope you learned something. If not one regular expression, we probably do. I have here like YouTube videos of Regex explained, obviously, because can have too many YouTube videos. That's it for this video. I hope you learned something, and as usual, it would be amazing if you share, like, and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon for similar such or more amazing code to come.